If you like my videos, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment below. There is plenty of timestamps for you to check, such as items, gems and more. But please make sure to check out the common question and answers. So let's get into the video.
So what is the build? The build is a classic custom crit Ice Nova assassin. The main goal of this build is to able me to farm a Crimson Temple just by pressing maybe one or two buttons, because I don't want to think too much about about the modifiers, curses, damages and all. Nothing like that. I just want to have a very simple build. On top of just running the Crimson Temple, on my Atlas I'm using Essence, Ritual, Expeditions, Harvest. That gives me a little bit of a profit on top of just hoping to get a Mage Blood card. And on top of just basically farming the maps, I can do the standard content that you would expect for the build like that, with this amount of currency invested, such as you can do your Guardians, your Invitations, you can do a Shaper, standard stuff that you can do. I didn't attempt yet doing the Uber bosses because I would have to respec a little bit my Atlas, and probably I would have to gain a little bit more power, but maybe at some point I would try to attempt maybe a Uber Shaper. So the main defense of the character is evasion. You might be wondering, okay, just the pure evasion, you're probably dying a lot. Not really. From the level 94 to 95 that you can see in the background, I literally died once to some kind of wonky combination of our wonderful essence monsters. On top of that, it was ghosted. So now we can watch and enjoy some clips of me killing some Guardians, Invitation, Shaper, just to get a feeling how the build works and functions.
just need a moment to catch my breath.
To meet Exile, quickly! So that...
For the Bandits, we're choosing to help a little. For your Pantheon choice, we're gonna be using Sword of Arakali as a major god, as this gonna help us a lot with the Chaos res, as you're gonna be struggling getting your cap resistance on your Chaos. So I would recommend going with the Sword of Arakali. For the minor gods, we have two choices. Soul of Aberrant, just for the unaffected by the burning ground if you get a map modifier, or you can use Soul of Ralakesh to help you out dealing with the bleeding, because most of the time you're gonna be relying on your Flask, where it is, for your bleeding moon. So this small Pantheon would be great if you're having issue with the bleeding. For your Ascendancy point, we go Normal, Cruel, Merciless, Eternal. For Flask choice, we have a lot of flexibility, but only Flask that I would say is a mandatory is a Jade Flask that have a chance to gain a flash charge when you deal a critical chance and with increased evasion. That's the only mandatory flask that you should have, as well our character is evasion based. This just will increase our defense. The phasing flask I'm using is mainly for the phasing, and I have some reduced charge use and increased critical strike doing the flask. That's okay, but mainly using is for the phasing. And I have 3 resistance flasks, mainly for the less damage taken. And one of those flasks, you need to have your immune to bleeding and corrupted blood, as the bleeding is gonna be annoying while mapping. And the rest of 2 is up to you. I have reduced mana cost of skills. This is not necessary. This just takes my Ice Nova from 12 to 0. And I have a poison immunity. Again, this is not necessary, just good to have. So here's the item breakdown. Cospris Malice is a mandatory item for us. It cannot be replaced. This is a core piece of an item. You simply need it. Another core piece is Prism Guardian. This is a core piece of our build. You need it. Another core piece of is Chevron Wrapping. This is a core piece of our build. We need it. The presence of Chayula is a mandatory item as it is our core piece of a build, and I recommend applying 20 catalyst for the defense. This will get you a 4% extra of your life converted to energy shield, and Anointment Tranquility is one of the best. For your helmet slot, I highly recommend using Viridi's Veil, and I will look for the stats in priority, plus 2 socketed gems, then the enchantment for the increased Ice Nova, and then the resistance. If you're gonna be using this helmet, you need to have 1 blue ring in your right slot. This will give you the curse,
immunity, and the damage against you is unlucky.
Those two helmets that you see on the left will provide you with more damage. On top of that, you don't have to use a blue ring as you could use a rare ring, as only the magic ring is recommended and is more like it's needed for the Viridi's Veil. But for the time being, I would highly recommend sticking with Viridi's Veil, and eventually when you get enough of Divine Orbs and you just want more damage because you want to be killing the bosses much faster, then you can go with the Hubris. For your belt slot, you're looking for a crystal belt base, and then you're looking in the priority with increased maximum energy shield plus flat maximum energy shield, and whatever you can get on top of that, such as resistance, maybe some strength, whatever you're missing and whatever is available on the market. And applying 20 catalysts for the defense modifier will increase the stats on our ES. So your gloves are very flexible, but if you're gonna be looking for your gloves, I would start by looking for the increased damage with hits against chillet enemy, and whatever you can get on top of that, any flat accuracy, dexterity, maybe some maximum energy shield, whatever you can get, maybe some chaos res, and then you wanna use the lesser orbs to get the implicit, inflict the cold exposure on hit, and chance to unnerve enemies for 4 seconds. So for your ring slot, one of your rings, you're looking to get as much as stats, resistance, maximum ES, and an open prefix to craft a non-channeling skills -7 is a mandatory. You need to have this craft no matter what. And your other ring, you're looking for a synthesized base with implicit that says -3 total mana cost. Then you want to apply 4 catalyst for the attribute, and you want to roll either T2 or T1 dex, and then you want to craft non-channeling skills. For your boot slot, I highly recommend using Stampede boots, and we're gonna be anointing them with Essence Sap. So I will try to explain how the Stampede boots work, as probably most of you never use this item, and you're gonna be using this for your first time. So what you're mainly interested in those boots is the last line. Your movement speed is at 150%. So if you look on here, we have 50% movement speed. And to put it very basic and simple explanation, those boots ignore the Cyclone, the gem that gives us 30% less movement speed. Right? So we can Cyclone which are the less movement speed from our Cyclone gem. So now I'm gonna use a standard rare basic boots, because you might be thinking, oh, I can just replace my Stampedes, but normal boots get some resistance and I'm gonna be great, right? So this is what's gonna happen when you take off your Stampedes. Let's just say you're gonna have 33 movement speed, or you can get a bit more, right? But as soon as you pop your Cyclone, you're gonna get very, very slow. To make up for that lack of movement speed, you would have to use a Quicksilver, and then you can Cyclone, but you're still sitting at 21, right? What the Stampede does to us and to the Cyclone, we socket them, and we are already capped at 50. Even if we pop our movement flask, we're still at 50. So the movement flask makes no sense. Therefore, you can socket a different flask. That's the big advantage of using Stampedes in any Cyclone build. Here's the gem setup for your helmet. You're gonna be using Purity of Elements, Zealotry, and Lighten level 3. It has to be at the minimum level 3, otherwise you will run into the mana reservation issue. And your last support should be either Summon Skitterbot or Herald of Ice. Summon Skitterbot will give you more damage, but Herald of Ice will clear the map a little bit nicer. So this last aura is up to your choice. Here's the gen setup for our main body armor. We're using Cyclone, and this is a very important step. We're gonna be using Awaken, Cast and Critical Strike. You can use even level 1 and 20 quality, as this is good enough for us temporarily, because we're getting the increased cooldown recovery rate from this gem to help us trigger more Ice Novas.
Then we're gonna be using Ice Nova, increase critical strike, added cold pen. While you're leveling and you still didn't pick up all your passive to reduce mana cost on your passive tree, I would replace either the added cold or cold pen with inspiration temporarily just to get the reduced mana cost. Here's the gem setup for your bots. You're gonna be using Assassin's Mark on support hit, and you have 2 open sockets, and that's gonna be for your movement skill of your choice. First one is shield charge, faster attack, or you can use dash and second wind, or you can simply use divergent frost blink. The movement skill is up to your choice. Here's the gem setup for our cosplay. Just please remember that the cosplay triggers the gems from the top to the bottom. So on the top, your frostbolt should be always as a first gem. Then we go on Ice Nova, and we're using, this is very important, Anomalous greater multiple projectiles. We're using Anomalous version because this give us a reduced mana cost. If you do not have the inflict cold exposure on your gloves, I would remove Ice Nova and I would use Frost Bomb, as this is gonna give you the exposure that you need and would reduce some regen life on some annoying monsters. So here's the gem setup for our shield. We're gonna be using Grace, Hatred, Discipline. I would recommend getting a Val Discipline. Gem setup for your gloves. You're gonna be using Vortex, Precision, Bone Chill, and the last link is up to your choice. You can use Culling Strike. This will help you out culling some tougher bosses, or you can use a Steel Skin while mapping. This will help you out with the bleeding and increase a little bit of your defense. This choice is entirely up to you. So in this section of the video I will answer some questions that you're probably gonna have. Either you're gonna pop up to my live stream and you're gonna ask them, or you simply will leave a comment if this build is expensive, and the answer is yes. There's in 3.19 many of the uniques, they got really expensive because of the drop rate or whatever. For example, the Natural Instinct costs us 20 divine orbs. I wanted to say exalted orbs. 20 divines. The same thing, Priest Guardian. A good roll Priest Guardian with the 30 dex gonna cost you around 1 divine. So there's a lot of unfortunately expensive items, and you're looking roughly for about 45 divines, give or take what's the prices of the items on the market. So you might be wondering what's the damage on this build, and according to the POB I'm doing 9.5 million, and I will break it down for you how we are achieving that. First, with generating power charges, that's a no-brainer, we're assassin, so with generating power charges with super ease. Elusive, again, we are assassin, that's our Ascendancy Passive, not a problem. Are we reaching the energy shield? Yes, all the time, because we're using the Soul Drinker, Forbidden Flesh and Forbidden Flame Jewel in our passive tree. There is one enemy, we are counting that as a one boss, that's we're getting from our Ascendancy a bit of extra damage. Then is enemy blinded? Yes, I'm taking a blind from my Watcher's Eye. Is enemy chilled? That's a no-brainer. We're doing cold damage, so and we're critting all the time, so enemy is gonna be chilled all the time. Is enemy on the cold exposure? Yes, we're having a cold exposure. Either you can have it from the frost bomb, or you can have it from your gloves. Is enemy unnerved? I have a unnerve in my gloves, so that's how you get the unnerve. Then we go to our skills. There is, and you doing your Ice Nova. Since you can cast 3 Ice Novas from your body armor, and then in your cosplay you can cast it 3 times as well. Then we're counting 1 Frostbolt, and in our gloves, we have Vortex with Bone Chill, and on top of that we're using Culling Strike, and the Vortex does a little bit of dot damage. That's how we get our 9.5 mil damage on this build. Should you take the Ghost River? And the answer is no, as we're taking those 3 nodes over here with the Mastery, and we're taking the increased total energy shield recovery from Lich. That's good enough for us. We don't want to take Ghost River, because Ghost River with the
Ghost Dance has a very weird interaction. On top of that, you won't be recharging your energy shield because of the Ghost River. So I would highly recommend not taking the Ghost River at all. So in this section of video I will explain a little bit how do I get and where do I get my reduced mana cost. So my skills cost either 0 or they are very low, and the leech from the essence up sustain me for mapping and bossing, and I do not have to use a mana flask. First of all, you wanna buy yourself a synthesized base ring that has -3 total mana cost. It has to be free no matter what. Even if you have to pay a little bit more, it has to be free. Why? This will make our Cyclone cost 0, as our Cyclone will cost 3 mana exactly. So this makes it for free, so we can spin around for free as much as we want. Then you want to have a open prefix to craft non-channeling skills, -7, that's a mandatory. Then you want to craft the same thing on your secondary, -7, mandatory no matter what. Then you want to socket a replica of Conquerors, that's -9, that's a mandatory. Then we go in our passive tree and we're getting 10 reduce over here, 5 reduce over here, and the 10 reduce from the mastery, again that's a mandatory. And then you're getting a little bit reduced cost on your Militant Fate. I'm not sure if the Militant Fate reduced mana cost is mandatory, but I would highly recommend it. And all of those will make your Ice Nova cost 12 mana, and the rest of your skills is free. Your dash is free, your vortex is free, your cyclone is free, your other Ice Nova from your cosplay is free, and your frostbolt is free as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.